The goal is ultimately the collapse of the family and the killing of God in America. Because what that does is it so destabilizes our moral and societal structures that it can then be replaced and reorganized with something different, like progressive, socialist, communist ideas. And that has always been the plan.
Hey, it's Alonzo Bodden with another Rebel HQ TYT video. And you know, usually Christianity isn't under attack until Christmas, but I guess Christmas is coming early this year. Christianity is under attack. Let's watch.
The target is always children. And that's why God gave children to parents, not to governments. Not to woke institutions that are then staffed and manned by those who want to undermine the faith and values that made America great and that advanced the good. So we shouldn't be surprised that nefarious forces are targeting children.
Hey, Kirk, I think children come from parents because, you know, that's how it works. Or at least that's what I learned in public school. They can't come from governments or schools because governments and schools can't reproduce. No matter how hot and sexy those two schools are, you could put them right next to each other. You can build them touching and they won't make a little school. As for nefarious plots, you mean like systematically taking over school boards across the country and pushing the school agenda to the right? No, Democrats can't do that because you know what? Democrats just aren't that organized. Besides, most parents are too busy trying to keep their kid from getting shot at school to put any time into nefarious plots. But you know, there is one thing you always have at the schools after the shooting, right? Thoughts and prayers, because that's what works, right, Kirk? Thoughts and prayers. Let's take a look.
So we become Christophobic in this nation. Christianity is the number one persecuted religion in the world. And it's become de rigueur in this country to attack Christianity. I'm sure my book, some people say, well, you mentioned Christ in there. Well, of course, it is an important way. And we know that people who have struggled with trauma, that those who have a strong religious faith actually do better.
Christianity, the most persecuted religion in the world? Well, Tim, I'm sure some Jewish people might have some pushback on that statement. Even the OAN host was shocked by that one, and it takes a lot of BS to shock one of them. Now, as for your biblical way of dealing with trauma, Tim, we've been trying the thoughts and prayers after school shootings, and Lord knows we've had too much practice doing it, and it doesn't seem to be working. Now, you think Christianity is falling off, but no, Tim, that's the old Christianity, where they had rules against things like adultery and lying and stealing. This new Christianity, where anything goes, has to be more popular. I mean, your leader's on trial now for committing adultery, right? Stealing is okay. There's even some coveting being done. And we're not going to talk about lying, are we? Because then you might have to lie. Yeah, these new commandments seem like fun, Tim. But what about the old? What about the original 10? Well, let's take a look and see how that's going.
You probably know Matthew 6:5 when Jesus says, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners. When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. You know that in Scripture it says faith without works is what?
Dead.
Is dead. My concern is instead of bringing a bill that will feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, we're instead mandating that people put up a poster.
Whoa! Who is this James Tallarico guy? Could he be an actual Christian? I mean, look at him talking about you shouldn't be a hypocrite and pray publicly, but you should pray in private, you know, like it says in the Bible. And he even made her participate when he said faith without works is dead. That's right. That would be a dead religion. Instead, they should be passing bills to feed the hungry and clothe the naked. James, are you out of your mind? I'll tell you what James is doing. James is setting up his opponent to get some super PAC money in the next election, whenever that is.
Don't let the law get in the way of loving your neighbor. Loving your neighbor is the most important law. It is the summation of all the law and all the prophets. I would submit to you that our neighbor also includes the Hindu student who sits in a classroom, the Buddhist student who sits in a classroom, and an atheist student who sits in a classroom. And my question to you is, Does this bill truly love those students?
I'm going to go a different direction than I think you're trying to lead me.
And James, the number one prophecy, love thy neighbor, even though thy neighbor may be Hindu or Muslim or atheist, that's inclusive. That's progressive. That, dare I say, is something Jesus would endorse. But I love what the woman said in the end. She said that you're trying to lead me in a different direction, and I'm not going, which is exactly what she would say to Jesus.